Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Pharma Focus. I hope you guys are doing really great. And this video is the last part of the follow-up in Pharmacovigilance series. So this is regarding a practical example of how follow-ups are to be done and what you need to look for in an initial case. So earlier we discussed about what a follow-up is, what is the purpose, what are the methods, and the ethical and the legal considerations. And going forward in this video, how follow-ups are conducted and maintained in PV. So the practical example of a case we are going to discuss here. So as you can see on my screen, the case states that a 55-year-old male patient contacted the company's medical information line to report that he experienced dizziness and nausea shortly after taking drug X for the treatment of chronic back pain, and the patient stated that the symptoms began a few hours after the first dose and persisted throughout the day. He discontinued the medication on his own after experiencing worsening dizziness the next morning. The patient did not seek medical attention and no hospitalization occurred. He mentioned that he takes a few medicines for blood pressure and sleep but did not provide specific names or dosages. No past medical history, exact event dates, or detailed product information, doses, frequency, batch number were provided during the initial call. He agreed to be contacted for further information but was unable to continue the call at the moment due to the feeling of unwell. Because several key elements were missing, such as onset date, dose taken, concomitant medication, current status, this report requires follow up to complete the case assessment. So, if I talk about the initial case summary, let's look into the overview. So, there is a 55-year-old male patient we are talking about who reported dizziness and nausea after taking drug X. Now, he mentioned that symptoms began within hours of the first dose. Then the patient stopped the medication after worsening dizziness next morning all by himself. Another point is there is no medical consultation, no hospitalization, and the reporter takes several medicines as well, which he mentioned for the BP, and details are not provided in regard to that. And patient agreed to be contacted for the more information, which states that the patient has given the consent for the further follow-up. Now, the key issue here is there are several critical data elements that are missing, and therefore the follow-up is required. So if we look at the missing information which is required, it involves the exact dose, frequency, start and stop dates of the drug X. So drug X is the suspect drug here, and we don't have any information regarding what dose, what frequency, what start and stop dates of this drug X was. Then the detailed event timeline, which states that onset, duration, recovery status. Now the person has mentioned in the morning or after this, before that. So that is a kind of a very vague information, and it is not stating when he took the drug, when the event started, and what is the status. Is it recovering, is it recovered, or yeah. So that's where detailed event timeline states. And then we have the name and the dose of the concomitant medications. So he did mention that he took other medications for blood pressure and sleep, but the name and the doses of the concomitant medications were not stated. Then the past medical history and allergies, there was no mention of that. Whether any treatment was taken for the symptoms, so he experienced dizziness and nausea, so did he took any treatment for the same. Then the details of the product, that is the batch lot number and the expiry date, current condition of the patient. So what is the reason of follow-up here? It is to complete the case validity, assess the seriousness, and establish the causality here. Then what follow-up approach or follow-up plan can be followed is they prepare the targeted questions based on the missing elements. That is the first thing that can be done. Or secondly, they can contact the patient via preferred method, which is via phone or via email. And as I stated earlier, you have to be concise, non-leading, non-intrusive, and you need to maintain a professionalism, confidentiality, and respect as well. And after this, we need to document the successful follow-up information. Unsuccessful attempts, we need to document the date, the method, and the outcome of each contact. So what is the primary goal here is to obtain the sufficient data, that is to perform the accurate case assessment and update the safety database. So next is the actions that are done after gathering the follow-up information. So first and the foremost is update the case in the safety database. So we need to enter all the newly collected information. We need to update all the event details, timelines, drug information, or anything that we have gained through a follow-up. And then we need to attach the call logs or emails as the evidence. So this depends if a single person, the safety associate who is conducting the follow-up, is the only one who is processing it, and at times there can be different teams doing the processes, like one team or one team member is performing the follow-up and the other one is processing that ICSR. So in those scenarios, the one performing the ICSRs will already have an attached email as the email or the call log as an evidence to the processing or updation of the case. Then next we have revised the case narrative and assessment. So as we all know that narrative is something which is the medical summary of how an adverse event took place, and it gives you a complete side of how and what and when things happen. So we need to update the narrative with the follow-up findings. So we need to reassess the seriousness, causality, expectedness, and the case validity. Next, we have evaluate the need for the additional follow-up. So we need to determine if more information is required and any information that is still missing, and it is required to reassess or to revise or update the case. So we need to decide whether to close the follow-up workflow. And secondly, we need to decide if we need to make the further contact attempts. Then after all of this, the updation of case, revision of case narrative and assessment, and the evaluation for the need of additional follow-up, we need to finalize and submit if and when it is required. If the case is reportable, then we need to prepare for the regulatory submissions and we need to ensure the compliance with the timelines. That's all for the follow-up, for the practical example of follow-up. I hope you guys liked the video, and I tried my level best to make you guys understand how and why and what things are need to be done after conducting a follow-up. And I hope you find it useful. So stay tuned for more such videos. Keep watching and do subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.